Hey guys, Boss and Ramos, and obviously you see it's just me today. No Joey, no Chris, and that is because Hurricane Milton is making landfall on the west coast of Florida, and you know it's just better not to make these guys travel here to make the game picks this week. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it done earlier, so it is what it is. But definitely want to get this out to you guys. So yeah, welcome to week 6 of NFL Game Picks. Week 5 wasn't the friendliest to me. I did go 9-5, which wasn't awful, but it could be better. But let's talk really quick about the Dolphins. They got another win, and that was pretty pretty interesting to see. It came down to the wire. Dolphins got a late touchdown by Alec Ingold, and that helped seal the victory. On top of that, two big time defensive stands by this Dolphins team made the difference. You know, the Patriots, if they had a couple more seconds, they would have had a chance to possibly get in the end zone. But yeah, gotta take the win when you can, and on the bye week right now, so not so much to worry about there. Uh, you know, the Packers got a big time win against the Rams. So speaking for Joey here, and the Bears got a big time win against the Panthers. So all three of our teams won this past weekend. That's very 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 fun, very awesome to happen. But without further ado, we are gonna get into the standings. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit to make it easier for you guys to see what's going on here with the standings. All right. So on top here, we got Steve killing it so far. Week 4, he had 12-4 record. This past week, he went 9-5, giving him a 52-26 overall record on the season. That is a large gap, 52-47, which is the difference between him and Hecty and Sean, both in second place. Hecty went down a little bit in the standings. He could have had the sole lead for second, but he went 8-6. I would imagine he picked the Patriots in that last matchup. Sorry, Hecty. But yeah, they're 47-31. And then to keep it moving down, we have Jillian in third place with a 7-7 record, 46-32 overall. And then fourth place, we got a big tie between Chris, DJ, Doug, and Edwin, all at 45-33. And we have my sorry but at fifth place. But I did have a decent week, 9-5, and we're at 44-34 on the season. I'm tied there with Peter. And then in sixth place, we got Joey, who had an 8-6 week, 43-35 title for Ray. And then we have the rest of the standings here. Some people haven't made some picks. Some other people have been late, like Victor. Brooks, you got to get those picks in, man. Alberto missed his past week. Alberto, a little spotty over there. But pretty much from Tina up, it's been more consistent in terms of the picking. But yeah, that's right there is the standings. Hopefully, we can make some climbings there. That would be pretty fun. But let's get into what you guys are all here for. You're here for the game picks. So, without further ado, you guys already see we have Chris and Joey's picks already slotted in. And I will show you on the website what everyone else is kind of picking, so you guys can kind of get the vibe of what's going on for these picks here. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting little race we got going on here. We have the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. This is a big-time NFC West matchup. And, 49ers, who would have thought they would have been 2-3 through the first 5 weeks? Not me. Most people, like myself, probably would predict them to be 5-0, maybe 4-1 at worst. But, it's not been the best season so far for the San Fran team. Lots of injuries, a lot of drama. And I think, things get a little interesting for them. Really quick, let me see if this looks good for you guys. Right about there. That looks good. So the cool thing about this website that we use, it's called the NFL Gamepicks. Shout out to Steve. It shows you what everyone in your league is picking. So it helps you out kind of gauge, all right, this person picked the 49ers. This person picked the Seahawks. So, which one are you going to go with? It helps out a lot. But aside from that, man, the Seattle team is very interesting. They've been able to get a couple of good wins, but some things are holding them back. And hopefully they get a little more production out of their defense. I think their defense is really what's holding them back right now. Their offense is pretty good. They did get Kenneth Walker back. and pretty seemed like he didn't miss a beat in that Detroit game recently. But some other injuries that they have is Byron Murphy and Reek Woolen. Those guys are out. For the 49ers, Jake Elliott and Talona Hufanga are also out. And Jake Moody, their kicker, as well. So for that reason alone, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. And on top of that, they're wearing their throwbacks. So why not go with the Seattle Seahawks here? I love the home teams on Thursday Night Football. It's a little fault of mine, but it is what it is. But we're going to keep it pushing, and we're going to go to London. We have a 9:30 kickoff for the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, Chris isn't here to give us his input. I would imagine he was pretty excited with Caleb Williams' performance last week against the Panthers. They're facing a little bit of a lesser team once again in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Jaguars are better than what the record says. No one really would have thought this Jacksonville Jaguars team would be 1-4 to start off the season. But you have the Chicago Bears floating along and having a decent season so far at 3-2. Caleb looks like he's improving. So I would love for the Chicago Bears to get a win here. Jacksonville, I just don't think it's their year. And I think they paid Trevor Lawrence too early, and that's going to be the hindrance on their success. On top of that, you also have Evan Ingram, who's been dealing with injuries pretty much from the very beginning of the season. He didn't do so well in week 1 against the Dolphins, and then after that, he's been injured. So game time decision. Let's see if he ends up playing. I don't think he will. For some fantasy managers like myself who have him, it's definitely upsetting, but it is what it is. All right, keeping it pushing. This is going to be a quick one, guys. 1 o'clock, first game on the 1 o'clock slate. We have the Arizona Cardinals at the Green Bay Packers. Chris and Joey are already rocking with the Packers. Cardinals got a surprising win against the San Francisco 49ers last week, and just barely beat them. I believe it was like less than 1 point that was a difference in that one. And, that's kind of summarizing what the San Francisco 49ers season has been. So Arizona has positioned himself back into competition, just 1 in the NFC playoff picture, 2 in the NFC West division standings. So that was a big-time win for them, but I don't think they keep things going. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I just think they're too good of a team, especially with Jordan Love at the helm, to fall to this Arizona Cardinals team, who is very inconsistent, but they do like to make games out of it. They did compete very well with the Bills in week 1. They competed pretty well with the Lions, and then they beat the 49ers. So, these are some games that Arizona's been in. They unfortunately haven't won most of those games, but, I think they carried themselves well going into this game at Green Bay, but I don't think it makes a huge difference in terms of them actually coming out on top. Keeping it pushing, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not going to waste too much of your guys' time here. I'm going to go with the Eagles. They're favored by 9 points, guys. Deshaun Watson's time in Cleveland, it's looking like it's coming to a close end. Fans are fed up with him. His performance, honestly, has been awful. I mean, every time I see him in a crucial moment in the games for the Cleveland Browns, looks like the pressure is getting to him, and he's getting sacked. He's just getting beat up in that backfield. So, yeah, not so good. Philadelphia's coming off a bye, and I think they should be getting healthier. So that will be interesting to monitor moving forward, seeing how they go throughout the season, because they have been pretty much injury-plagued almost the entire season, and it hasn't been too well for them. An interesting matchup up next here with the Houston Texans at the New England Patriots. Patriots are wearing their throwback reds. I'm only showing this just because I have it in my bag. Patriots throwback logo there. I'm not picking the Patriots. I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. Yeah, the Patriots are wearing the throwback reds. Drake May is starting, which is big-time news. It was a little late for me for what I was expecting him to start. I was expecting him to at least come out in the second half against the Miami Dolphins. That didn't happen. But in that game, it necessarily did not need to happen. But I would imagine all the rumors that were swirling around heading into that Miami Dolphins game, that their locker rooms in turmoil, that they want this rookie to start, all this and that. It's finally boiled over, especially after that close loss in Miami Dolphins last week. Houston, big win against the Buffalo Bills. They're 4-1 now. They're looking like one of the hottest teams in all of the AFC. And they're going to keep things rolling. And they just have a very good offense. Defense is complementary to the offense. I wouldn't say the defense is world beaters. I wouldn't say they're phenomenal. But they do enough to get the job done. And that's exactly what Houston needs because they have a good, high-powered offense with C.J. Stroud at the helm. Hopefully, Joe Mixon gets back. Cam Akers has been doing pretty well in this spot. Damian Pierce has been banged up too. So their backfield definitely a little subpar right now. But I think as the season goes on, as these guys get healthy, you add Damian Pierce back into the lineup, you add Joe Mixon back into the lineup. With the experience that Cam Akers is getting right now with this offense, I think this is going to be one of the deepest teams in all of the AFC as long as they can continue building up their success and health. On to other AFC South opponents. We have the Indianapolis Colts at the Tennessee Titans. The guys are split here. Chris is going with the Colts. Joey is going with the Titans. I'm a little tough here, but I did like what I saw from Joe Flacco. I think whoever's in at QB for this Colts team will bring them success against this Tennessee Titans team, especially. Right now, Tennessee's favorite at home. If you're a gambling man, I would take the Colts spread. Colts plus 2.5. I do imagine that they will be able to put up some points against this Tennessee Titans team. The one knock I will say is I do not know who's going to be starting for this Tennessee Titans team. Will Levis did get injured with his throwing shoulder against the Miami Dolphins. Now, they had the bye week. His status hasn't really been adjusted. He's kind of just been on the fence. So if Will Levis is a go, give me those Colts. I think the Colts can really knock them out of the water here with Will Levis at the helm because Will Levis has been on self-destruct mode. Honestly, the Dolphins easily could have won that matchup, but you have Mason Rudolph go into that game and be a consummate pro and just be efficient with the ball, no turnovers, no mistakes. Just keep it simple, stupid. Anyways, keeping it moving, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. Bucks had a tough loss in Atlanta last week on Thursday Night Football. Saints, Derek Carr got hurt against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. Who's going to be starting? Is it going to be Rattler? Is it going to be the other guy that came into the game because Spencer Rattler was not suited up for that Kansas City game? Who knows? A little too uncertainty for me here on the Saints team. They have a highly explosive offense, and I don't know how it's going to be ran without Derek Carr at the helm, so that's a little bit concerning. So that being said, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just they're the more sure team for me on this one, and that helps ease my mind when I'm picking these between these two teams. But I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans makes a game out of it. The biggest thing is whether or not they can facilitate keeping this offense afloat without Derek Carr at the helm. But we have a very, very interesting matchup here. The Washington Commanders at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I know Steve, I know he loved this game. So let's see. Everyone is rocking with the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is a tough matchup for rookie Jaden Daniels to be going into. And, he's been on a roll. He's won 4 straight. They've been on a decent roll. It's really tough. Everyone here is rocking with the Baltimore Ravens. It's tough. Baltimore was shaky to start off the season. And, I don't know if they're going to keep having these big offensive games. The Washington defense, while it's interesting because it has a good flex of young players mixed in with some good vets, can they sustain stopping that run for the Baltimore Ravens offense? Because Derrick Henry and Lamar, they're going to pound that rock, and they're just going to try to slowly march their way down the field. Boom. You missed a tackle, they're gone. So, I don't know. I really like what I've been seeing from Jaden Daniels. I think I got to go against the grain here and go with the Washington Commanders. As much as I would love to rock with the Baltimore Ravens here, I think this is a big game for me to try to get up on. And, there are some games here that may be, going against some people here. So I think at the end of the day, on a game like that, you want to try to go against the grain. In terms of gambling, I would absolutely slam the Washington Commanders. Plus 6.5 earlier today was at 7, so that line is moving in favor of Baltimore. So get the money while you can. I think Washington at least covers the spread here at plus 7. At 6.5, you can try to get that, but it can go be a little tough there. All right, keeping it moving, we have the first game of the 4 o'clock window. We have the Los Angeles Chargers coming off the bye at the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos are one of the hotter teams in the NFL right now, and Bo Nix is playing pretty well. So I don't have too much faith in this Los Angeles Chargers team. I just don't. Justin Herbert's been having a nagging injury since the season started, and I don't think the offense mixes well, like Justin Herbert's play style with Jim Harbaugh's just running philosophy. I think it helps him. I think it makes the offense efficient. Overall, I just don't think those schemes and play styles mix too well together offensively. But I just like what I've been seeing from this Denver Broncos team. So I say, why not rock with the Broncos here? They aren't favored at home, so another betting line for you to take is definitely the Broncos on that one. At least maybe on the spread. But I think Denver can put up a lot of points and make things interesting. And, it's really going to come down to if the Chargers can run the ball efficiently, get consistent first downs, and get the ball in the end zone. Because Denver is going to be able to get the ball in the end zone at some point in this game. And they can get in the end zone pretty often. So I think that'll be interesting to follow in that first 4 o'clock game. Keeping it moving, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Las Vegas Raiders. Gardner Minshew benched. I don't know if he got injured or not. I saw Aiden O'Connell in the game last week, and I was like, Aiden O'Connell. I actually like Aiden O'Connell as a player. I think he's pretty interesting. But this Pittsburgh Steelers team, man, they lost against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The game was delayed like 2 hours for the kickoff. It wasn't that great of a game, and then it started picking up. Then it started really getting interesting. Fraudulent Justin Fields takes are starting to come out. I don't know how I honestly feel about it. I think he plays well enough to get this Pittsburgh Steelers team wins when their defense is playing well, when he's getting the ball to the playmakers. But from what I saw on Sunday Night Football, short gains. Oh, we didn't make the line again? Are we going to do it? A lot of uncertainty. They ended up punting it or trying to go for it on 4th down. It just seemed a little clunky. I would love to see the offense ran at a little bit higher efficiency, a little bit higher of a tempo, just on certain plays. Like, mix up the tempo. Don't just be, all right, let's run out the clock here. It's predictable. It's bland. It's boring. People will be like, oh, that's a Pittsburgh style of football. It is. I'm going to pick them to win just because there's a lot of turmoil going on for that Las Vegas Raiders team. But all in all, it's moving forward. I'm losing faith in the Pittsburgh's offense. Defense, lights out, killer. I mean, just one of the better defenses in all of the NFL. Offensively, I don't think they have the bats to sustain the type of offense they want to run. I think they got to get the ball in the playmakers' hands, like George Pickens, Pat Fryer a little bit more. I know they don't have spectacular weapons all around, but I think they're trying to do the best with what they got, and they're doing pretty well. They went toe-to-toe with that Dallas team, and they almost had it. Tomlin had kind of a, I don't know, not the best decision on that timeout late in the game. I understand you're trying to get a good defensive look. It's a big time down, that 4th down play. You want to have your best defensive set out there, and even then, it wasn't enough, and you didn't have enough time to go down the field. Especially when your offense is so ding and dunk or run the ball very short. It just was a recipe for disaster in that late game situation. They did have a nice game leading drive, but Dallas came back and they didn't have enough time to make a consistent offense going on the field. That's just my thoughts. Keeping it pushing, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers. Typically, you would see this game in a 1 o'clock window. Carolina not looking so great, 1-4. They are wearing their black helmets this week. For any of you guys who are into the NFL equipment, the Atlanta Falcons, though, looking like the better team. Big time win on Thursday Night Football against another divisional rival. I think they keep things pushing. I think they got a win here. I don't think we'll see Bryce Young ever play another down for this Carolina Panthers team. Just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below. Does he get traded? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Big time matchup here. We have the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. Last year, when these two teams met, it was fireworks. It was high scoring. Last year, they exceeded that over/under of 52. I would expect that to possibly be the same, but I don't have too much faith in this Dallas Cowboys offense to put up that many points. But I think Dallas likes to play to their opponent, and if Detroit's going tit for tat and scoring points, guess what? Dallas is probably going to be doing so too. And if not, they're just going to be insanely efficient and crumble under pressure. Now, Chris and Joey are both going with Detroit here. Detroit's coming off a bye. They're probably one of the best teams in all of football right now. As a whole, they just have the most consistency. They did lose that game against Tampa. It was just one of those type of games. Aside from that, spotless, efficient, and getting wins. And, you know, this is a game that everyone is going with Detroit. I don't know. It's tough. As much as I want to pick Detroit here, there's just something that's telling me Dallas might win this game and, you know, get payback for what happened last year. Well, actually, no, because Detroit lost that last game. Either way, I think the Dallas Cowboys win this one. I don't know what's telling me that they're going to win. I just have that weird feeling in my gut because this is one of those games that either Detroit chokes on or Dallas chokes on. And I think for some reason, Detroit's going to stumble out of the gate coming out of their bye week and makes things a little interesting in terms of the NFC standings. All right, Sunday night football. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the New York Giants. Giants got an interesting win against the Seattle Seahawks last week without Malik Neighbors. Will Malik Neighbors be back in this matchup? Who knows? I would love to see him, mostly for fantasy football purposes, because I have him. I know I have him in one league. I don't know if I have him in two, but he's just an absolute beast. And aside from that, this Giants team was actually surprising. And then Cincinnati, their woes continue. They went toe-to-toe with the Baltimore Ravens and ended up losing a heartbreaking matchup that went into OT. I think Cincinnati gets on track. You know, you see the boys here. They picked the Bengals here too. I think they get back on track and they find a way to win in this matchup. You know, we thought New York was going to be a slouch. They're not a slouch. You know, there are 2-3, but they're going to give teams their best punch week in and week out. And whether or not those teams can handle those punches is really going to be the deciding factor on how much success this New York Giants team has. Meanwhile, the Bengals, it's been a horrible start to the season, 1-4. I don't think they make the playoffs this year, unfortunately. Just too many early in-season losses. As like they can go on the most tremendous run. Even then, if they do even make the playoffs, I think they're going to be an early bounce. The defense just isn't there for the Cincinnati Bengals team, and it's very unfortunate because they have a pretty good offense, but even that has been inconsistent. And that's the reason that I think they're having the most amount of problems right now offensively is they don't have Joe Mixon at home. They should have never let Joe Mixon walk. I know Joe Mixon's injured right now for the Texans, so it's hard to say, like, you know, his impact on the Texans. Listen, Joe Mixon was the glue that held that offense in check. And they're not having really that with Zach Moss right now. It's pretty much a two-man show, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. So if they can get that going, sure, they can knock off a couple wins. But I don't see the Bengals being a playoff team this season, unfortunately for them. Keeping it pushing, we have Monday Night Football. We have the rematch of when Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. And somehow, some way, the Jets were like, you know what, let's have some more deja vu. Let's wear our new iteration of the white throwbacks. Aside from that, you know, this Bills team, 2 straight losses. They're 3-2 now. Whoever wins this matchup will be first in the AFC East. And I haven't even mentioned the biggest story yet. Robert Saleh has been fired by the New York Jets. Yeah, it's a weird position for this Jets team to be in. They're coming back from London. They just fired their head coach and promoted their defensive coordinator, Greg Ulbrich. And I don't know. Rodgers went on McAfee today, and he was just like, no comment, Yeah, me and Salah were cool. I think it's a little smoke. But they're also still in the running to try to get Devontae Adams. Does this affect any type of trade that could have happened for Devontae Adams? Maybe, possibly. But I don't think it's the reason the Jets don't get Devontae Adams if they were to trade for him. Also, Josh Allen definitely suffered a concussion late in the game against the Houston Texans. About 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Bangs his head on the side of the ground. Clearly see him unconscious. His body goes limp. Goes into the medical tent for 2 seconds, comes back out, and is back on the field. I definitely think that needs to be investigated because, it's not even me being a salty Dolphins fan for like Tua getting concussed and all that stuff. It's just like, can't be having that. He was clearly like unconscious on the field. Aside from that, they said it was another ankle injury, like he rolled his ankle. It is what it is. In terms of actually winning this matchup, I would love to know closer to game time who's going to be playing. Just for the sake of picking right now, I think the Jets get some little fire under their belly, and they do end up winning this primetime matchup against the Buffalo Bills and make things a lot more interesting in this AFC picture. Because if Buffalo loses 3 straight games, man, this whole playoff picture for the AFC East has gotten blown wide open. So, it still leaves a crack for the Miami Dolphins to make a little bit of a run. And I just really wish that was the case for my own personal gains. But also just moving forward, like, what if Buffalo won 3 straight, looking like one of the hottest offenses in the league, scoring 30 points a game, no one can touch them, and then 3 straight losses. And I want to say that other loss was to another AFC opponent. Yeah, it was lost to the Ravens, lost to the Texans, and now losing to another AFC opponent. Those are big time losses for the standings. But yeah, that pretty much sums up all of the game picks for this week. Really quick, I want to show you guys just a full scale view of the website here. It's NFLGamepicker.com. Keeps a good Rolodex of all the games throughout the weeks. You can look to your week's matchups, next week's matchup. You can make picks in advance. Let's say you're going out of town and you just feel so sure about certain teams. You can do that. Aside from that, it's a great website. You can track all your wins and losses each week and out. They do also have another mode, and that is the pick against the spread. You can see that there. Unfortunately, I did not do so much. I did it in week 1. I haven't continued on, so my record looks pretty bad. I'll just show you guys really quick. Let's see, leaderboard. So I did it like week 1, but 19 and 13, and haven't done it since. But yeah, you can do that too as well if that's your thing. Definitely recommend if you are doing it to kick off. If you're doing it to kick off a year, definitely suggest this. The only thing I won't recommend is jumping in mid-season because it will award you losses for games you haven't picked, just because that's how the system works. Aside from that, it's an awesome website. I love it. And yeah, week 6, Dolphins are on bye. There are a couple other teams on bye that I haven't mentioned yet. Kansas City Chiefs, the Los Angeles Rams, and the Minnesota Vikings. So I think it'll be interesting to see how all these teams perform this week. And the biggest game I'm looking forward to is that Monday Night Football game because that one's the one that means the most for my team, the Miami Dolphins. Aside from that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.